There is a powerful truth that many people spend years trying to understand. Focus on yourself, because people will come and go. Some will stay for a season, some for a reason, and a rare few for a lifetime. But your relationship with yourself is the only one that is guaranteed from beginning to end. When you truly understand that, your priorities begin to shift. Too often, we build our lives around who is present at the moment. We adjust our dreams to fit someone else's comfort. We shrink our voices to maintain connection. We delay our growth while waiting for approval. When those people leave, as many inevitably do, we are left feeling lost if we have misplaced parts of ourselves. That pain does not come from their absence alone. It comes from forgetting to invest in ourselves while they were there. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is responsible. It means nurturing your growth, protecting your peace, and committing to your purpose regardless of who is standing beside you. It means building a life so strong internally that external changes do not shake your foundation. When you are centered, departures do not destroy you, they simply redirect you. People will come into your life with different roles. Some will teach you lessons, some will inspire you, some will challenge you, and some will disappoint you. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Trying to force permanence in temporary situations only leads to suffering. Instead of clinging, learn to appreciate. Instead of fearing loss, focus on growth. When you focus on yourself, you strengthen your identity. You learn what you value, what you will tolerate, and what you deserve. You develop discipline, confidence, and self-trust. These qualities attract healthier relationships naturally. You no longer chase people to fill empty spaces within you. You choose connections that align with who you are becoming. There is freedom in understanding that you cannot control who stays. You cannot force loyalty. You cannot guarantee consistency from others. But you can control your effort, your mindset, and your progress. You can choose to become stronger with every transition. You can choose to let endings refine you instead of define you. Growth often requires solitude. There will be seasons when you feel alone. In those moments, it is tempting to seek distraction instead of development. But solitude can sharpen your vision. It can help you rediscover passions you neglected. It can remind you of your resilience. The time you spend investing in yourself will never be wasted. Focusing on yourself also means healing. It means addressing insecurities instead of masking them. It means learning from mistakes rather than repeating them. It means forgiving yourself for past choices and committing to wiser ones. When you heal, you raise your standards. And when your standards rise, the quality of people in your life improves. Understand this clearly. When you build yourself, you become less afraid of who leaves. You stop chasing validation. You stop overextending to keep people comfortable. You stop sacrificing your purpose for temporary approval. You begin to move with confidence because your worth is not tied to someone else's presence. Your relationship with yourself is the only permanent one. Invest in it daily, because from the moment you are born until your final breath, you are the one constant presence in your own life. People will walk beside you for seasons. Some will stay longer than others. Some will leave unexpectedly, but you remain. The quality of your life is deeply shaped by the quality of the relationship you have with yourself. Many people spend years investing in others while neglecting their own inner world. They prioritize approval, validation, and connection, yet rarely pause to nurture their own growth. They pour energy into relationships, careers, and responsibilities, but forget to strengthen their mindset, emotional health, and self-respect. Over time, this imbalance creates emptiness. You cannot build a fulfilling life on self-neglect. Investing in yourself daily does not require grand gestures. It begins with small, consistent habits. It means speaking to yourself with encouragement rather than criticism. It means protecting your mental space from constant negativity. It means setting boundaries that honor your limits. These daily decisions reinforce self-trust and inner stability. Your relationship with yourself determines how you handle challenges. When you trust yourself, you make decisions with confidence. When you respect yourself, you refuse to tolerate mistreatment. When you value yourself, you pursue growth even when it feels uncomfortable. Self-investment strengthens resilience. It prepares you for moments when external support is limited. Emotional awareness is a vital part of this investment. Take time to understand your feelings rather than suppress them. Reflect on your reactions. Ask yourself why certain situations trigger strong emotions. This self-inquiry builds maturity. When you know yourself deeply, you respond to life with clarity rather than impulse. Investing in yourself also means developing discipline. It is not punishment, it is self-care in action. Waking up early to pursue your goals, maintaining healthy routines, managing your finances responsibly, and continuing to learn new skills are all forms of honoring your future. Each disciplined action communicates to yourself that you are worth effort. There will be moments when you doubt yourself. In those times, the strength of your internal relationship becomes evident. If you have practiced daily self-respect and growth, you will speak to yourself with patience rather than shame. You will correct mistakes without destroying your confidence. That compassion creates stability. The way you treat yourself sets the standard for how others treat you. If you constantly ignore your needs, others may do the same. If you tolerate disrespect internally, you may accept it externally. When you invest in your own well-being, you naturally raise your expectations. You begin to attract relationships that reflect the value you place on yourself. Self-investment also requires forgiveness. You will not always get everything right. You will make poor decisions. You will experience failure. But growth comes from learning, not self-condemnation. Forgiving yourself allows you to move forward without carrying unnecessary weight. Daily investment builds long-term confidence. It is not loud or arrogant. It is steady. It comes from knowing you consistently show up for yourself. You keep promises to yourself. You prioritize your growth. You choose alignment over comfort. In the end, people may come and go, circumstances may shift, and seasons may change, but your relationship with yourself remains. When you nurture it intentionally, you create a foundation that cannot easily be shaken. Invest in your mind, your discipline, your healing, and your dreams every single day, because when you strengthen yourself consistently, you build a life rooted in confidence, clarity, and lasting inner peace. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Appreciate seasons without clinging, because life moves in chapters, and each chapter introduces different people who serve different purposes. Some relationships arrive to teach you, some to support you, some to challenge you, and some simply to share a moment in time. When we expect every connection to become permanent, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. It is natural to want stability. When someone enters your life and brings comfort, understanding, or excitement, you may begin to imagine a long future with them. You invest emotionally, you build memories, and you form attachments. But growth requires change, and change often reshapes relationships. Holding on too tightly to something that is shifting can create tension, resentment, and heartbreak. Appreciating seasons means recognizing the value of a connection without demanding it last forever. Just as seasons in nature transition from spring to summer to autumn to winter, relationships also evolve. Some flourish for years, others fade quietly. Their ending does not erase their importance. A short season can still hold profound impact. Clinging often comes from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of losing comfort. But when you cling, you begin to act from desperation instead of authenticity. You may ignore red flags, you may overextend yourself. You may compromise your boundaries. In trying to preserve the relationship, you slowly lose pieces of yourself. When you understand that not every connection is meant to stay, you release the pressure to force permanence. You begin to show up fully in the present moment rather than anxiously worrying about the future. You listen more carefully. You appreciate conversations more deeply. You enjoy sharing experiences without trying to control what comes next. Every person who enters your life leaves something behind, a lesson, a memory, a new perspective. Even painful endings contribute to your growth. They reveal your strengths, your weaknesses, and your emotional patterns. Instead of viewing departures as failures, you can view them as transitions. Not every ending is a loss. Sometimes it is simply completion. Letting go with gratitude is a powerful skill. It requires emotional maturity. It means acknowledging that something was meaningful while also accepting that it has run its course. This mindset protects your peace. It prevents bitterness from taking root. It allows you to move forward without carrying unnecessary emotional weight. When you stop clinging, you also stop trying to control outcomes. You cannot force someone to stay. You cannot guarantee that feelings will remain the same forever. But you can choose how you respond. You can choose grace over panic. You can choose understanding over blame. Appreciating seasons also strengthens your independence. You learn that your happiness is not dependent on a single person's presence. You understand that while relationships enrich your life, they do not define your worth. Randomness builds confidence and emotional stability. Life continues to introduce new connections. When you release old ones peacefully, you create space for healthier alignments. Growth often requires making room. If you cling to what has expired, you block what is meant to arrive. In the end, every connection has value, whether brief or long-lasting. The key is to embrace each season fully, without fear, without control, and without attachment that suffocates growth. Appreciate the lessons, cherish the memories, and accept the transitions. Because when you learn to love without clinging, you experience relationships with greater freedom, deeper presence, and lasting inner peace. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Appreciate seasons without clinging, because life moves in chapters, and each chapter introduces different people who serve different purposes. Some relationships arrive to teach you, some to support you, some to challenge you, and some simply to share a moment in time. When we expect every connection to become permanent, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. It is natural to want stability. When someone enters your life and brings comfort, understanding, or excitement, you may begin to imagine a long future with them. You invest emotionally, you build memories, and you form attachments. But growth requires change, and change often reshapes relationships. Holding on too tightly to something that is shifting can create tension, resentment, and heartbreak. Appreciating seasons means recognizing the value of a connection without demanding it last forever. Just as seasons in nature transition from spring to summer to autumn to winter, relationships also evolve. Some flourish for years, others fade quietly. Their ending does not erase their importance. A short season can still hold profound impact. Clinging often comes from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of losing comfort. But when you cling, you begin to act from desperation instead of authenticity. You may ignore red flags. You may overextend yourself. You may compromise your boundaries. In trying to preserve the relationship, you slowly lose pieces of yourself. When you understand that not every connection is meant to stay, you release the pressure to force permanence. You begin to show up fully in the present moment rather than anxiously worrying about the future. You listen more carefully. You appreciate conversations more deeply. You enjoy shared experiences without trying to control what comes next. Every person who enters your life leaves something behind, a lesson, a memory, a new perspective. Even painful endings contribute to your growth. You reveal your strengths, your weaknesses, and your emotional patterns. Instead of viewing departures as failures, you can view them as transitions. Not every ending is a loss. Sometimes it is simply completion. Letting go with gratitude is a powerful skill. It requires emotional maturity. It means acknowledging that something was meaningful, while also accepting that it has run its course. This mindset protects your peace. It prevents bitterness from taking root. It allows you to move forward without carrying unnecessary emotional weight. When you stop clinging, you also stop trying to control outcomes. You cannot force someone to stay. You cannot guarantee that feelings will remain the same forever, but you can choose how you respond. You can choose grace over panic. You can choose understanding over blame. Appreciating seasons also strengthens your independence. You learn that your happiness is not dependent on a single person's presence. You understand that while relationships enrich your life, they do not define your worth. This awareness builds confidence and emotional stability. Life continues to introduce new connections. When you release old ones peacefully, you create space for healthier alignments. Growth often requires making room. If you cling to what has expired, you block what is meant to arrive. In the end, every connection has value, whether brief or long-lasting. The key is to embrace each season fully, without fear, without control, and without attachment that suffocates growth. Appreciate the lessons, cherish the memories, and accept the transitions. Because when you learn to love without clinging, you experience relationships with greater freedom, deeper presence, and lasting inner peace. You cannot control who stays, but you can control who you become, and that truth carries both freedom and responsibility. Throughout life, people will enter and exit your story without always giving you warning or explanation. Some departures will feel gentle and mutual, while others will feel sudden and painful. You may try to understand what you could have done differently. You may replay conversations in your mind. You may wish you had said more or less. Yet no amount of overthinking can guarantee someone's presence. What remains fully within your power is your own growth. Trying to control who stays often leads to anxiety and self-doubt. You may shrink yourself to be more acceptable, silence your opinions to avoid conflict, or overextend your efforts to prove your worth. In the process, you slowly disconnect from your authentic self. When your focus shifts from becoming better to simply being chosen, you lose clarity about your values and goals. Growth begins when you redirect that energy inward. Instead of asking, how can I make them stay? You ask, who do I want to become regardless of who stays? This shift transforms your mindset. You begin to invest in your character, your discipline, your emotional intelligence, and your dreams. You stop negotiating your standards for temporary approval. Becoming better does not mean becoming perfect. It means becoming more aware. You examine your reactions. You take responsibility for your mistakes. You identify habits that hold you back. This level of honesty strengthens your foundation. Even if someone leaves, you remain grounded because your identity is not built solely on their presence. Painful goodbyes can either harden you or refine you. You can allow disappointment to make you bitter, guarded, and distrustful, or you can let it deepen your wisdom and resilience. When you choose growth, you extract lessons from every experience. You learn what you need, what you value, and what you will no longer tolerate. Controlling who you become requires discipline. It means continuing to work on your goals even when you feel discouraged. It means choosing integrity even when no one is watching. It means practicing patience when emotions feel overwhelming. These choices shape your character over time. Your mindset plays a powerful role. If you believe that someone leaving diminishes your worth, you will constantly feel unstable. But when you understand that people's decisions often reflect their own journeys, not your value, you reclaim your confidence. You stop internalizing every departure as personal failure. When you focus on who you are becoming, you build qualities that attract healthier connections. Confidence draws respect. Emotional maturity invites deeper understanding. Clear boundaries create balanced relationships. Ironically, when you stop trying to control who stays, you often form stronger, more authentic bonds. Growth also brings peace. You no longer feel desperate to hold on to situations that are clearly misaligned. You trust that what is meant to remain will remain naturally. This trust reduces anxiety and strengthens your inner stability. Life is unpredictable. Circumstances change. Feelings evolve. But your commitment to self-development remains a steady anchor. You cannot force loyalty. You cannot demand permanence. But you can choose to grow wiser, kinder, stronger, and more disciplined with every experience. In the end, the most powerful control you possess is over your character, your mindset, and your direction. When you invest in becoming your best self, you create a life rooted in strength rather than fear. And no matter who comes or goes, you remain secure in the person you are continuously becoming. When you strengthen yourself, healthier relationships naturally align with your life because quality of your connections often reflects the condition of your inner world. The way you see yourself influences the standards you accept, the boundaries you set, and the energy you tolerate. When you are insecure, uncertain, or unhealed, you may unconsciously allow dynamics that mirror that instability. But when you grow stronger mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you begin to attract relationships that match your stability. Strength begins with self-awareness. You take time to understand your patterns, your triggers, and your habits. You recognize where you have previously settled for less than you deserved. You become honest about moments when fear of loneliness kept you attached to unhealthy situations. This awareness is not meant to shame you, but to empower you. Once you see clearly, you can choose differently. EmotionalHealing allows you to respond instead of react. In the past, you may have been quick to argue, quick to assume, or quick to withdraw. As you strengthen yourself, you develop patience. You listen more carefully. You communicate more calmly. You no longer allow temporary emotions to destroy long-term peace. This maturity creates a safe space for healthier connections to grow. Confidence plays a powerful role in alignment. When you believe in your worth, you stop chasing validation. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself constantly. Instead, you show up authentically. You express your thoughts without fear. You maintain your standards without apology. This confidence naturally filters out people who are uncomfortable with your growth and draws in those who respect it. Strength also means discipline. You protect your time and energy. You do not entertain drama that drains you. You do not participate in gossip or manipulation. You prioritize your goals and responsibilities. When your life has structure and direction, you become less attracted to chaos. Healthier individuals are drawn to that stability because it reflects their own values. Healing is another critical component. Unresolved pain can cause you to seek comfort in familiar dysfunction. You may mistake intensity for love or control for security. But when you invest in healing, you break those cycles. You forgive, you reflect, and you learn. This healing clears emotional space for relationships built on trust and respect rather than fear and dependency. As you strengthen yourself, your boundaries become clearer. You no longer accept disrespect disguised as humor. You no longer tolerate inconsistency disguised as business. You calmly walk away from situations that compromise your peace. These boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They ensure that only those who honor your values remain close. Healthier relationships are not perfect, but they are balanced. There is mutual effort. There is honest communication. There is support during challenges. When you are strong within yourself, you do not expect others to complete you. You share your life rather than cling to someone for identity. This independence creates room for genuine partnership rather than codependence. Growth may temporarily feel lonely. As you elevate your mindset, some connections may fade. Not everyone will resonate with your new standards, but this transition is necessary. Space must be created for alignment. Trust that the right people will recognize your strength and appreciate it. In the end, strengthening yourself is the most effective way to improve your relationships. When your confidence is steady, your discipline is consistent, and your healing is intentional, you radiate stability. And stability attracts stability. Without force, without chasing, without compromising your values, healthier relationships begin to align naturally with the life you are building. As we bring all of this together, remember that every lesson shared comes back to one powerful truth. Your life transforms when you choose to transform yourself. Not every connection is meant to last. And that is not a tragedy, it is a natural part of growth. You cannot control who stays, but you can control your character, your discipline, your healing, and your standards. When you stop what was never meant to remain, you create space for what truly aligns. Growth requires self-focus because distraction keeps you stagnant. It requires discipline because motivation fades. It requires healing because unaddressed pain repeats patterns. And above all, it requires a strong relationship with yourself because you are the one constant in every season of your life. When you invest in yourself daily, you build emotional strength that cannot be easily shaken. Healthy relationships are not forced, they are aligned. They do not demand that you shrink, beg, or compromise your values. They grow naturally when you become stable within yourself. When your confidence is steady and your boundaries are clear, you attract connections rooted in respect rather than insecurity. Strength within creates harmony without. So let people come, let people go, appreciate the lessons, release the attachments. Continue refining who you are becoming. Every setback can sharpen your wisdom. Every ending can redirect your path. Every challenge can strengthen your resilience. Nothing is wasted when you choose growth over bitterness. At the end of the day, your greatest responsibility is not to manage everyone's presence in your life, but to manage your own evolution. Become wiser, become stronger, become more disciplined, become more self-aware. Because when you strengthen yourself consistently, everything else begins to align in its proper place. Stand firm in your standards. Protect your peace. Invest in your growth. And trust that as you rise, the right relationships will rise with you.